Okay, so where do I even start? I think in the beginning, when I moved into US, I did not know the capitalist productive culture in America. Today's video, and if you're listening on Substack, will be about how I rewrote my relationship or narrative with productivity and how I am healing my relationship with it. So my parents are back in Nepal and I was the first one in the family and the middle child to move to US for studies, and I ended up staying back. So who knows what the future holds, but for now I am learning about my experience as a woman, as a person of color, as a first generation immigrant in the US. And throughout my journey, I think my immigrant experience has become a pivotal moment for me in helping heal the relationship with myself, with my family, with the world, and just seeing how the world works from that perspective. So this is one of the key things that I talk about. If you have known me for a long time or you're just getting introduced to my work, I also coach first generation people of color and immigrants to uncover their passion, to help them live a thriving life abroad. And I'm going to be talking about how I'm doing that and how I overcame my own limiting beliefs and was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So prefacing, to backtrack a little bit, or like 8 years ago, right? I was someone who was really focused on studies, right? I used to study hard. I don't know if it's called valedictorian, but I was the class topper, top 3 in all the tests, school, board exams, and I was really motivated to study because I think study was something that was ingrained in my mind growing up, because my dad really wanted his kids, or like my mom too, wanted their kids to be well educated. They wanted us to be a well-known individual, and they wanted us to like have a set job. You know, that's what every parents want, especially coming from a South Asian household. I think education is one of the most important factors that defines you, who you are. You know, education is a pivotal part of it. So when I came here for studies, or when I made that decision, my parents always joke about this, how I was really stubborn and that I wanted to be away from them. You know, like I wanted to come to America for studies, and my mom really supported me. My dad was kind of against it in the beginning, and to be fair, my parents were born and raised in a village. You know where Mount Everest is? They were born and raised in that part of the country, that part of Nepal, and then they moved to the city, right, to give their children a new life. So I think of that analogy whenever I am going through like a tough phase in my life. Like, think about those times where my parents had a hard time in the village and then they moved to the city to give their children like a better life. But I digress. I came here and then I did not know about the capitalist system, how productivity was. I always do this thing where like I pronounce things, but now I don't care. But yeah, productivity was worshipped, you know, and I was going to school in Mississippi at that time, right? So a time period where, hold on. A time period where I was just learning the ropes of having a major and deciding a minor, where you could take electives and just exploring all the different possibilities that are out there in the US, right? Because in Nepal, like when we were in college, we were not supposed to like take electives. Like, you study what you're supposed to study, right? If you're a science major, you study biology, geology, chemistry, and all that stuff. And then if you're a management major, you study economics, accounting, stuff like that. So we are not supposed to take like electives that are out of our major. So when I first came here, like, and I immersed myself in the culture, I was obviously like culture shocked, right? But also I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I never wanted to study science, so why should I take one of the science electives? And then why should I take history? Why should I study theater? Why should I study you know, like all these questions. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. This was my choice. This was my decision to come to the US. So I'm gonna play by the book. I'm gonna play by the rules. So that was my first year, or like my first semester. And then I stayed in Mississippi until the second semester. And I think I had a kind of like a rude awakening where I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm tired of following the rules, right? Like I wanted to explore because in Mississippi, like the college was great, the university was great. They had a big library, the community was really tight knit and small. But there was nothing else to do. On weekends, I think we would go to a mall that was an hour away to drive, and we were living in not a rural place, but the apartment was really small and everyone knew each other. It was kind of like a small village, and then the Nepali community, everyone knew each other. So, and then I had this idea of moving to Texas because most of my friends were in Texas and they were like studying, going to a community college, saving money. But also, I did not know that Texas was a little bit more expensive in terms of living, food, transportation, everything. So my friend made the decision to move to Texas. And we were in the DFW, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And there's significantly big Nepalese community there. And granted, we asked for help from the community. And there are people who help. There are like generous Nepalese people who have helped me, and my friends who have supported me, who have like guided me to resources and stuff. And I spent my time in Texas mostly like studying and like working my ass off, just making ends meet, meeting new people, dating. If you would have listened to my first installment, and then I talked about dating. So if you want to learn more about how dating relationships is like as an immigrant brown woman. So yeah, and then I lived in Texas for 2 years, and I don't even know how quickly time flew by when I was in Texas, because now looking back, I can hardly remember some of the moments, but I'm appreciative for all those moments, right? The relationships I built, my classmates who helped me get through the exams, and a lot of lessons were learned. I have made a lot of friends, Nepali and American in Texas, and I think just continuing to build that relationship like a puzzle or a building block in the house, I think that has made me who I am today, right? And then that's when I found out in Texas, like, oh, this is how you should be. Like, you should always keep on working, no rest days, you're not gonna take time off. And then I think that kind of molded me my work ethic. And one thing about us Nepali people is that we have a really good work ethic. We are smart, we pick up things easily, we're self-starters, most of us are. So that molded my work ethic and like my productivity narrative. And then I moved to California, and I remember the time when I joined network marketing company, and that's when I started like selling shampoo. That was a pivotal moment for me, because when I was doing that, I did that for almost 2 years, and I learned so many lessons. I started showing up on social media. I started being a leader. I started listening to a podcast, reading books, and just diving deep into my personal growth journey. But I think the hustle culture in entrepreneurship and like in these kind of network marketing companies is kind of toxic. And after coming out of that phase, now I look back, I just think, like how I did that. I used to wake up at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning, and I used to stay late until 10 or 11 p.m. And I was going to school, I was doing the business, I was running the business by myself with a team, and then I was doing shifts on the weekends as well. I caught up on babysitting when I was taking a break from school. So I was doing a lot, and I was putting a lot of pressure on my body, my mind, and my spirit. And at that time, I was not spiritually woke. Back then, I got into crystals, I got into tarot card, but I did not realize the importance of like just tuning into your heart and like speaking your message. So I think after doing that, after pausing from, or after quitting, let's just say how it is, right? After quitting selling shampoo, then I came to a realization. So I came to a realization that the hustle culture was not serving me, right? And when I used to rest, I had, I think, the trauma of, oh, you should not rest. Why are you resting? You should be productive. You should be doing something. You should not stay still. And I have had many coaches in my life, but one of the coaches inspired me to just dig deep on why I am passionate about helping people. So that gave the birth of me creating a community for immigrants, because I've gone through the experience of what it's like to be lonely, right? And I think when I was selling shampoo, I completely ignored that part of me. Being an immigrant was a part of my brand, but I did not and could not focus on that certain aspect of me because I was too focused on like the materialistic things, right, as they show us. So I was really tied into, oh yeah, like I want that cat. And then I had just gone through a car accident, so I think that was the main motivator for me to keep on pushing, keep on selling, keep on, being on people's faces, keep on selling my friends shampoo even when they didn't want it. And I think I had a ruptured relationship with sales too. And now I see that show up in parts of my business, right? My passion flow coaching, where whenever I know my offer is really potent and really deep and really powerful and empowers people to really help figure out their passion. But I think the sales part comes up and shows up in parts of that where if I like try to sell, even on my stories, right, I will have this imposter syndrome of like, oh, who are you to sell your offers? You're just Regina, right? What if my friends say I'm cringy? But the thing is, like, when you have such a potent offer, when you have a gift to share, you know that there will be people, even if there's only one person, right, who is going to be impacted by your voice, by your work, they're gonna buy you. So I had to come to terms with that, right? And there's a million bazillion people in this world, and you don't have to cater to all of them when you know that there is a community out there who needs your work, who needs your voice, needs your passionate advice, or has something to learn from you. So I take breaks, I try to rest, but also I don't try to slouch or stay on the rest zone too much. Granted, there are highs and lows in our life, right? We can't all just be riding highs all the time. What goes up must come down, and what comes down must go up. That's the balance of life, right? And I really thought that could not show up on social media after quitting the sales, right? I had to heal my relationship with the business, and I heard one of my business coach says this, that when you're starting a business, right, when you start working for yourself, your shadow parts come up and surface, and if you have not done the work, then you're gonna quit or life will hit you hard. Because personal life and professional life, no matter how much you try to keep it separate, some parts bleed into one another, right? And I realized this with my friends and myself too. Like, when one thing in our life is going really good, there's some parts of your life that are fluctuating or just not in the same balance, right? The scale is bound to go up and down. So I think just healing my relationship with rest and not getting too tied up in productivity, and because this capitalist society obviously tries to tell us that your talent, your skills are not worth it if you're not productive enough. So I've been taking time for myself on Saturday, Sunday to just do nothing, right? I even have the book How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell, which I haven't read. The foreword sounded interesting, and how to do nothing. Just sometimes you give yourself rest days on your calendar where you do nothing. But don't stay in that nothing period for a long time, because rest and reset, but come back even more stronger. I think that's really necessary. If you're a coach, if you're a healer, if you're a therapist, if you're someone who works in service-based industry, giving yourself that time to recharge your battery is really important. And even if you're in service-based industries, I think if you are a corporate baddie, if you work for yourself, just a reminder to rewrite your relationship with productivity, rest, healing, because that is what makes your spiritual health better. And always remember that if you can't fill your cup up first, you can't fill others' cup as well. I hope this message resonates with you, and if it does not, it's okay. But if any thoughts popped up on your head or mind as you were listening to this, feel free to drop it in the comments below, or DM me on Instagram, and you know where to find my work and how you can work with me. I have created free meditations, guidebooks for you to help you rewrite your relationship with yourself, and also how you really and truly find your passion in life. Thank you so much, and I'm always here to pull you back in your power and to remind you that you're worthy, you're enough. So thank you so much for listening, watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.